Well, sooner than most of us probably thought, but the day has already come. Oh boy, poor Robert Saleh, or maybe relieved Robert Saleh, because one thing people had said, he used to be a fiery guy. He used to look tough and engaged and confident, and this last however many months, he's just looked like this little sad shell of himself because of the big bad Aaron Rodgers.
You called this special show. I don't care, but that's fine. Let's do it. Let me think. A diva who cares about no one but himself, who single-handedly almost destroyed the Packers by himself, and luckily Goody got some balls and traded him. Oh, what did he do? It only took him 5 games? It only took him 5 games to destroy the Jets. Because you can't count last year, because last year he only had 4 plays. And then they had a whole year of peace and quiet until, of course, he pulled the I'm going to Egypt instead of going to practice thing. And that was just the start of craziness. I'm not surprised.
No,
I'm surprised it happened this soon.
Right.
But, I mean, the writing was on the wall over the last 2 weeks. We talked about it on the last show, I think, actually.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, like I said, if I was Robert Saleh, I would question my friendship with Matt LaFleur. I'd be like, why didn't you warn me about this guy? Now, I don't know how you can't see it from just watching him and observing him and seeing the type of person that he is. But you could be fooled by a big arm and an accurate arm and all that kind of stuff.
He talks nice sometimes, and then he plays it cool. And then I'm sure when they went to his house and all talked to him, he was playing it cool. But that's not when, the games are live and bullets are flying and guys are hitting them and all that stuff, because that's when everything else comes out, right? The finger pointing. Now, did you hear the latest thing? Did you hear the thing about Nathaniel Hackett?
No.
Okay, this is relatively new. I know everybody got all the stuff from earlier in the day, and of course, everybody who's rational assumed that it was Rodgers being involved, and of course, Woody Johnson had to come out and say that he made this decision by himself, and
even though he talked to Rodgers on Monday night, he said,
yes, he did. And then anyway, so he said that, and then also, some people are like, "Well, I'm not going to go there." I mean, they told me. Like Rich Eisen's like, I just talked to these guys and they told me how great their relationship was and all this and all that. I'm like, you can't
come on, Rich Eisen.
Can't believe it, Aaron Rodgers.
I know you work for NFL Network, but come on.
But there was reporting from a guy on CBS. So a relatively well-known report, I think, is like Joshua something or other. I don't know him well, but anyway, credit Nick Wright for giving me the source on this, because I did watch a little of the First Take thing, because Greg Jennings was more than happy to throw Aaron Rodgers around a little bit and beat him up a little bit with all this stuff. But the reporting from this guy said that Robert Saleh was strongly considering firing Nathaniel Hackett after that game in England.
And he should.
Yes. But who would not want him to fire Nathaniel Hackett?
Well, diva baby, Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Because it's not even Hackett's offense. We all know whose offense it is, because it's boring and it sucks. There's only one guy who wants to have a boring offense that sucks. The biggest weakness to Aaron Rodgers is the fact that he thinks he's smarter than everybody else.
Yep.
And when you think you're smarter than everybody else, you don't listen to other people. Even when sometimes they'll have good ideas for you. We talked about this a little while ago too. Remember, I said I listen to everybody. Sometimes I tell them they're dumb, but at least I listen to them when I was in charge of things and when I am in charge of things. It's the biggest problem with Rodgers. He thinks he has all the answers. And what Brian Flores' defense proved is, once again, just like when the Packers played the 49ers in the last playoff game that Aaron Rodgers was in, that the defense lines up one way, and then right at the snap, everything changes, and Rodgers cannot adjust. He doesn't know how to read the defense after the ball snapped. He's not a freaking genius like he tells everybody he is. If people just sit there and do the same thing before the snap and after the snap, he can figure it out. But Brian Flores lines up. I mean, he threw the ball right to Van Ginkel on that pick six interception that the Vikings had.
And then he downplayed it by saying, "Oh, Christmas came early for him." That's what he told him directly. Told Andrew Van Ginkel that Rodgers had to say. Christmas came early for him. Maybe he just made a good play, and you're dumb.
Here's the thing that I am kind of concerned, or kind of concerns me. I don't know. I'm not a genius. There's one coordinator on the staff. If you fire your head coach, right?
Yep. Fired him.
There's one coordinator on the staff who has head coaching experience. Now, it was very bad head coaching experience, but it was head coaching experience. Did they go with him?
Nope.
Interesting. Did you know that the Jets had the number 2 scoring defense or something like that, and the number 3 or 4? Either way, they got top 5 scoring defense and top 5 yardage defense in the league.
Yeah, defense.
Robert Saleh is a defensive coach, first and foremost. Yeah, he gets canned. Well, which makes a heck of a lot of sense that word got out. Rodgers heard, probably from Nathaniel Hackett, that Saleh was going to can his ass, which they tried to do in the offseason, by the way. And they tried to bring in another guy to be his guy in charge of him. That's what Saleh wanted to do too.
Yeah.
And Woody Johnson didn't do that.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? I mean, this is not surprising at all. Like, it's funny. I'm laughing. I think it's hilarious, but I don't know why. Like, it's not really news to me. It was going to happen inevitably, eventually.
Whenever you knew for sure they were going to fail, it was going to happen, right? But that's why it's weird this early, right? And a big thing is because we've seen seasons, right? I mean, come on. Look at the Packers season last year, right? Teams can turn it around. Teams can have a bad start and have a really good second half plus of the year and end up in the playoffs. That's happened plenty of times in the NFL, especially when you have a bunch of these guys that didn't play a single preseason snap and all that stuff. So, and not to mention, their division is garbage. Their division is going to be easy to win. Like there's no way you cut yourself out of that division. The Bills are the only team that's halfway decent, and they still got Josh Allen, who's a dum-dum and screw stuff up. And then whack his head, and then he goes 9 out of 30 in the last game. Yikesies. So that's the other weird part, is so early. Things can turn around in a season, and you're literally 2-3. The Jets were 2-3 at this point last year. Had almost exactly all the same numbers in terms of points, offensive production, all that sort of stuff. Now, here's something that is interesting. Greg Jennings was more than happy to talk about this statistic, so I'm giving credit here. This graphic that I brought up, I'm not going to bring it up, I'm just going to tell you. So Aaron Rodgers this season, his career rankings, these are his career rankings, and I'll tell you this season how he ranks for his career. Team points per game, 18.6. That is a career worst for Aaron Rodgers so far. Completion percentage, 61%. That is his second worst of his career to this point in the season. Passing yards per game, 218.6. That's his second worst. I think his worst was his last season with the Packers. Yards per pass, 6 yards per pass. That is his worst of his career. Touchdown to interceptions, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That is his worst of his career. Passer rating, 81.6, worst of his career. Not to mention you lose a game against the Broncos where he would throw it away instead of trying to throw it in the end zone and give his guys a chance because he didn't want to throw a pick. So you kick field goals. And he also audibled out of runs left and right, and you didn't even attempt the runs enough. And, we're like basically more than 2-to-1 pass to run ratio. in a sloppy, wet, horrible game. You lose by 1 point. And then you go to England and your guy throws 3 picks and you lose the game. And he threw a pick 6. You lose the game and you fire your head coach. Okay. Make it make sense.
It doesn't. There is no sense. And not only is there no sense, after the game, I don't know what his name, I can't remember exactly what his name is, but he's Johnson, the linebacker. He's like the brother of the D tackle or something. And there's an interview with him, and he was just they were asking questions. He's like, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. He's like, people need to be held accountable. Like, when are people going to start being held accountable is what he said. And the reports that I saw, people were saying that it was Robert Saleh who needs to be holding people accountable. And no, it's not. That's not what do you think a defensive player who's on a top 5 rated defense is concerned about who's being held responsible and held accountable when the offense is piss poor at best? How does Woody Johnson think this is going to do any? I left a message because I watched a Jet show. Listen to it at work. I listened to it at work yesterday.
Okay.
And then I left a message on there, and I said to him, this was before Saleh got canned. And I said to him, I was like, hey, Quentin Williams. Yeah. Thanks, Lee. And I just said to him, I was like, hey, Rodgers has chopped off Robert Saleh's nuts and he has no power. He can't reprimand him. The only way for Saleh to get power back is here's the difference. As Packer fans, we never had an owner.
Mm-hmm.
And the highest paid person in the building was number 12. Aaron Rodgers was the highest paid person who had the most power. And there was nothing anyone could do until finally they must have banded together. LaFluer, Goody, Mark Murphy, the 3 of them got together and said, yeah, we don't want you back. Bye. But when there is an owner, there's only one guy who could stand up to the diva quarterback. Only one person. Not even the head coach can do it. Only the owner can. And in my message, I said, Woody Johnson needs to give Saleh his nuts back, or else this is going to be a destroyed end of the season, complete disaster. But if Saleh could actually coach the team and have some sort of control, he lost control 2 weeks ago. When the video showed of him trying to give Aaron Rodgers a hug after they scored a touchdown, and Rodgers shoved him and then stared him down for 2 seconds and talked shit to his face. You've seen that video. I'm sure everybody's seen it. Have you seen the video?
I haven't seen it. I've just.
Oh, you haven't seen it? You gotta find
it.
You gotta find it and share it. Look, you'll see. It's just Rodgers stare down. Just put Rodgers Saleh hug or no hug or whatever. Find it and share it later. But anyways, what I'm saying is this. That proved who had the power. And I said to the Jets, I was like, you need Woody Johnson to give Saleh his nuts back or it's over. And Woody Johnson did the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. He chopped Saleh's head off and canned him. And now you just give the whole team to Rodgers. You just gave the entire team over to him now. I mean, you did. No matter what, I don't know who this defensive coordinator is, who's now the interim head coach. I'm assuming he's Robert Saleh's buddy or something. Like, why else would he be a defensive coordinator on the Jets if he's not Robert Saleh's buddy or something? I don't know. But he's in a whole lot of trouble. What's he going to do? He can't do nothing. The head coach is going to be Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the head coach now. He was already the GM and the quarterback because he brought back all of his guys. Well, how long is it going to take till Devontae Adams is a Jet?
I don't know. Hope soon.
Woody Johnson effed this up big time. What he should have done was give Saleh some balls back, tell Rodgers to shut the F up. You get paid to play quarterback. Shut up. Because every guy you told us to bring here has sucked. Who either can't make the team or they're dropping balls left and right. I don't want to hear it anymore. Saleh, you take over this team. The defense is actually good.
Yeah.
And now that Saleh's what are the defensive players going to do? You're a top 5 rated defense.
Well, you
just watched your head coach get canned, who's a defensive coach, because the guy on the other side, Diva Baby on offense. You think this is not going to put a big rift right down the middle of that team? We thought it was bad before when they were complaining. They were blaming Zach Wilson. Remember a couple years ago, they were like, Zach Wilson, what's your response to the fact that maybe, you're the guy who lost the game for him, and everybody got all over Zach Wilson for that.
Yeah.
When are people going to get all over Rodgers for this?
Oh, it's coming.
Oh, it's coming. It's going to be awesome. This is going to be straight out World War III, right down the middle. And how long before the offensive players start? Garrett Wilson's already kind of turned at him. And then what did Rodgers do? Throw 22 targets to him on Sunday. So now he'll shut up for a while.
Yep.
But holy crap, this is going to be entertaining. I can't wait to keep my ears to the ground and hear what's going on from all those guys.
As far as the defense goes, at least the defensive coordinator is now the head coach, so they got their guy that was coordinating the D still with them.
Well, Robert Saleh had to be a big part of that, wouldn't you think?
Well, he was, but he was less involved because he was sitting in on all the quarterback meetings this year, and because he wanted to get to know his, their perspective and their terminology and their language and all this stuff. Probably really just wanted to keep an eye on Hackett, but that was the thing. And then maybe Rodgers was pissed about that too. I don't know. He didn't like that. He said his only comment to the question about it, like Saleh made it seem like he was trying to build a relationship with Rodgers and let him know he was into it and all this. And Rodgers, when asked the question, just said something like, yeah, I've never had a defensive coach do that before. So
he's never had a defensive head coach before.
I don't think he liked it.
Well, he doesn't like anything.
And he thinks he knows more than everybody all the time. So that is the biggest problem for him. Oh, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. But yeah, Garrett Wilson will be quiet for now. If they get Devontae, that would be something. So it might as well do it, Jets. Keep it going. Keep the drama going here for the NFL. Kelly Packer showed up here, so we got to give him quick love and say, he says, what's up, guys? It was you was at the game on Sunday. Well, good for you. That was a fun game. It's a fun game.
Where's Kelly Packer?
Our guy Tuck was the man. Tuck was good. What do you got here? What's this?
You got to share this.
Shared.
Look at that man's face. Does that look like a happy man? I bet she's a hell of a lot happier today, because I'm sure he's still getting paid the money he was owed. I'm just sharing this because let's take a look. Down here it says, to add to the scandal, Saleh had to be escorted out of the building by team security. And quarterback Aaron Rodgers hasn't spoken out about the issue, but rumors swirl that he is to blame. Apparently tensions were high between the two in the run-up to the sacking. And the sacking is not Aaron Rodgers getting sacked. It's Robert Saleh getting sacked. So according to multiple reports, Saleh had to be escorted out of the building by team security. I would have loved to have heard that Robert Saleh punched Aaron Rodgers lights out. Wouldn't that would have been just an amazing story to hear about after what happened today?
Yeah.
I'm sure here's what happened. I'm almost positive this is what happened. He was probably walking around the building looking for him. And then, like, Joe Douglas is like, you got to get out of here, dude. We can't, you're going to get an assault charge. And he's like, no, where's Rodgers? I want to find him. I want to talk to him. I'm going to talk to him. When really he just wants to punch the freaking guy out. Because, I mean, let's face it. If there's a fight between Robert Saleh and Aaron Rodgers' little bitch ass would get his butt kicked by him for sure. And I got a feeling Saleh was looking for him. And now it's a Tuesday. Maybe Rodgers isn't in there on a Tuesday. I'm sure he's not. But he was mad about something and had to be escorted out of the building. Obviously, I'd be mad about getting canned for no reason when you got the top 5 defense in the league and your quarterback's throwing picks left and right and just running the same stupid offense from like 1972 or 1980, whatever. It's the West Coast offense from 1980 with no motion, no nothing.
Yep.
Van Ginkel said he knew what was going to happen on that play. He knew exactly what was going to happen. I also saw a video. I was watching, who was I watching? Oh, the O-Line Committee, which is a great shout out to O-Line Committee. People need to check those guys out. They're a YouTube channel. They're a couple of former Viking offensive linemen and then a Viking beat guy. Anyways, they were showing the video of that play. And they were saying that Rodgers was like pointing to the receiver and showing a 1. And they explained what that means when a quarterback does that to the receiver. It tells them that there's one guy coming. if that one guy comes, then get ready for the quick slant. And Van Ginkel took 2 steps forward. And they're saying by him doing that, the receiver knows that Van Ginkel's the one because he's not a down lineman. He was a back guy who was in the hole there. And when he took his 2 steps forward to look out for that quick pass, but Van Ginkel took 2 steps forward and then quick got back in that passing lane and picked it off. That wasn't a lucky play by him. He knew exactly what was going to happen. And Rodgers even told him by telling the receiver, oh, hey, 1-1-1. Everybody knew that. These 2 offensive linemen who haven't played for 5 years knew what that meant. So I'm sure a guy who's been studying the Jets offense knew what the hell was going on from the Vikings defense. This is ridiculous. I think Saleh, and Lee's saying, bring Saleh here. I think Matt LaFleur should call him right now and be like, hey, come on over. Just as a consultant or whatever with Jeff Hafley and
coach the D-line.
Yeah, because the D-line needs help bad. We all know that. Hafley can handle the defensive backs. They seem to be doing fairly decent except for Stokes. And then maybe Saleh can get this D-line figured out and make them a little bit tougher instead of a bunch of wusses.
But a couple quick things here. Kelly Packer says, I brought up Tucker Kraft. He says he started him in fantasy. I did too, but I still lost. Dang it, because my other guys weren't good enough. Kraft, mac and cheese. He's 4-1 in his league. I'm 2-3. Good for you, Kelly.
I'm 1-4. I lost by 1.7 points.
Oh.
Again, every week I lose by like freaking under 3 points. I'm starting to get a little angry.
You should.
Yeah.
You should. Lee drove past Lambeau about 20 minutes ago. Never fails to impress, but he misses the old stadium. Yeah. It's way different than it used to be, right, Lee? Way different. Yeah. But it is nice to see that G from like as you're driving into town and you can see it from far away. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. Well, I mean, it happened fast. Five games. Aaron Rodgers got what he wanted. Got rid of another coach. And he's already pretty much running the show anyway. Might as well get Devontae in there.
Oh, yeah. Might as well just do it.
Then they said this. They're like, well, no, Devontae Adams is not going to want to come to this team.
Why not?
Head coach fired.
The head coach is now his best friend. His diva baby buddy. Say that really fast a couple times. Diva baby buddy, diva baby buddy, diva baby buddy. That was hard to do. Try it. Try saying it. Yeah, you're not going to try, are you?
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's tough. Diva baby buddy.
It is kind of hard.
I know it is.
But like, come on, Devontae only cares about his numbers. He wants to be a Hall of Fame receiver. And how is he going to get that to happen? If he plays with Aaron Rodgers will throw to him all the time. They'll get their numbers.
Al Lazard will be forgotten about again, just like he was when he was with Devontae in Green Bay, and he was wide open in the playoffs because the 49ers, Rodgers never looked to him. He just forced it to Devontae, and then, of course, it was incomplete pass, and we lost. Way to go, Aaron Rodgers.
But that's what they'll get. They'll be able to play a couple of years together, cement Devontae's Hall of Fame status, right?
Is it his contract up after this year? Or is he for another year?
I thought he has one more. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
he has one more.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
That's sad for the Jets fans. I'm sorry, Jets fans. Whenever you're already done talking about Aaron Rodgers, we should talk about one more thing.
All right. What do we got?
Are we done talking about Aaron Rodgers?
I'm done talking about him. It's hilarious. I'm going to enjoy how it implodes even more. I'm sorry for the Jets fans, but not for Woody Johnson. And
no, he deserves it.
Yeah.
He deserves it. When you flew all the way to California to his house just to try to convince him to join your team, you asked for it that day. I told the Jets fans, you guys made a deal with the devil. And little did you know, it was actually the devil you were talking to. Because we know he's not religious.
Oh, he's so ridiculous.
No, man, but
just think about that. Before you go to your last thing, one quick point.
Yeah.
Just think about it. It took Mike McCarthy to stand up to Brett Favre.
Yep.
And then it took this trio and maybe the board. I don't know, but definitely.
I think it was mostly Goody. But Goody's a kind of a. We all know Goody has
Murphy too, though. I think.
Yeah, a little bit of Murphy.
Tired of it.
Yeah, but Goody was the one who stood up to him because LaFleur tried to be the nice guy the whole time.
Yep.
Though if I was Robert Saleh, I would not think LaFleur is a nice guy anymore. I'd be pretty upset with him.
But it took that, and the Packers at least had the balls to do it, to get, move on from those guys, even though a bunch of people were pissed and all the other stuff that came along with it. But there you have it. And it was the right move. It's the right move both
It was
times.
definitely the right move. Could you imagine if he was still here?
No.
Oh my God. We wouldn't have Jordan Love, which, to be honest, I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, but I'm not going to bring that up right now. But we would still have the diva, and it would be a disaster. The poor Jets fans. Poor
And
Jets
Romeo
fans.
Dobbs would really be pissed. Poor guy.
That's what I want to talk about next.
All right, what do you got?
Well, we haven't talked to this happened after our last show. So what's your opinion on the whole Romeo Dobbs situation?
I mean, I didn't realize he was second in targets. And I don't know. I mean, have we heard? We haven't heard from him yet, right?
No.
Okay.
If he shows up tomorrow, they're going to be all over him in the locker room, unless he tries to hide. I'm going to say one thing real quick before you say anything. So I was watching Andy Herman. I think it was Saturday morning he did a show about it, or sometime, maybe I don't know, whenever it was. It was after the report came out that they were going to suspend him for the game. And he said he went back and he looked at Romeo Dobbs' college scouting reports. And he looked at his own scouting report. He looked at a couple other guys' scouting reports, and there was nothing weird. But then he looked at one thing from, who's that one idiot, Bob McGinn or whatever, who always screws stuff up and talks and is weird. But he did say this. It was reported that when Romeo Dobbs was at the combine, he came out, he was there for one thing. I don't know what it was. Then he went back to his hotel room and locked himself in and never came out for the rest of the couple days he was there. So he didn't do any of the drills. He didn't do any of that kind of stuff. And people think it was like they didn't know what it was about. Like, why is he acting so weird, right? It was probably like anxiety or something. Mm-hmm. And one thing about Romeo Dobbs is that we've seen from him, he's a fairly, quiet guy. Doesn't get too fired up about stuff, right? Doesn't say too much about things. He did mention how Aaron Rodgers was a jerk to him, which we all remembered. That was awesome. When he was a rookie, he stood up for himself against Aaron Rodgers. So we know he's willing to talk when he feels like he's being slighted in some way. Because he was the only receiver who went on record saying that Aaron Rodgers did not treat the receivers very well, the young receivers, and he didn't like it.
Right.
So he has a history of standing up for himself. He also has a little bit of a history of anxiety or some sort of, mental fatigue, not mental fatigue, but something, where he gets upset or whatever, and he just disappears. He locked himself in his room and would not come out for the rest of the combine, which is, understanding now why he fell to the fourth round and the Packers took him, because he probably should have went earlier than that. So when you hear those two things together, then maybe it looks like it might be a little more reasonable why this happened. He's from Los Angeles area. I think he thought he was with Christian Watson out. I don't think it has anything to do with anything that happened prior to this week. Like, the targets. People are talking about the 22 targets and the 20 targets and all this kind of stuff. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think he came in on Wednesday for the game plan, and the Packers coaches came up with a game plan that had Tucker Kraft more involved, Jaden Reed more involved, and Dontavian Wicks more involved. And maybe he was like third or fourth fiddle on the list. And maybe he was like, what the crap? Like, Christian's out. Like, why? I've been here for 3 years. These guys have only been here for 2 years. And I think it started to hit him like, hey, they can easily let me go or replace me after my final year of my contract, which is next year, because they've got two good receivers behind me, 1 year behind me, and a tight end who's two tight ends really, but one really good tight end who was 1 year behind me. And they're only going to give money to probably either Christian Watson or Romeo Dobbs.
God, I hope not Christian Watson.
Well, that's the thing. Who do you think Goody's going to give the money to? The speedster who's tall and can't catch?
The guy who kind of performs pretty solid.
Or the guy who's reliable and solid and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I think they'll give the money to the speedster because he likes the traits. He likes speed, running fast in a straight line. That's Goody's thing. And I think Romeo Dobbs came in Wednesday and that all happened. And he was like, this is a bunch of crap. And I think he And some people were saying, "Oh, somebody got in his ear and whatever." And I don't think anybody got in his ear, because I think if a manager or if his agent told him anything, he'd be like, "No, you can't do that." Like maybe talk to the coaches and be like, "Hey, like I really like why am I not part of the offense or whatever during this week? Like I'm going home. Like what's going on?" I think Romeo is a quiet guy. I think he saw the writing on the wall this week that it wasn't to his liking. And I think he had like an anxiety attack and he freaked out and he went home and he just didn't talk to anybody and he didn't show up. Because I don't think there was any malice in what he was doing. I think he was shocked and kind of like realizing that, like, I think he had a lot of expectations and a lot of expectations were put on him. Like, yeah, in the offseason, we all talked about how there was no number one receiver on the team, right? And even Matt LaFleur was like, I don't know what you guys want to bring up the number one receiver. We got a bunch of good guys who are unselfish and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that's true. But then now this week, Matt LaFleur on Sunday did say, well, these guys, they're looking at what's coming up next and their contracts coming up and everybody's got to look out for themselves. But Matt LaFleur also said, this is not something where it's a history of things that have shown up that it's just all of a sudden, like Romeo just didn't come in or whatever. Like it was just one isolated incident. So I don't know. I'm actually concerned for him as a guy because it didn't seem like either a smart move for your career. Cause like who wants to trade for a guy or sign a guy who flaked out on his team? Like nobody wants that. I don't think any agent would tell their player to do. I mean, the only guys we could ever think of that did something like this is like P.O.O, right? Yeah. P.O.O went home and he was told to go home and then he worked out in his driveway, remember? And all the reporters were there. That was crazy, right?
Right.
It's just usually super diva, so selfish jerk guys, not like a nice guy. I think he had like an anxiety thing where he thought something else was going to happen and it didn't. And maybe it hit him like, this is not, like, I'm not the number one guy. I'm not the number two guy. I'm not the number three guy. I might be the fourth or fifth guy on this team right now. I mean, and based on the targets, it was kind of, he was third in targets, but I don't know. That's just something that I saw based on the things I've heard this week. And what I hope is that is the next game's at home, isn't it? In Lambeau, or is it away? The game against the Cardinals?
Cardinals, I think it's at home, but
okay, I don't know where it is, but my hope is that the Packer fans don't give him crap if he's out there on Sunday.
Yeah.
I hope that he's able to talk in front of the media tomorrow and articulate exactly what was going on. Just be straight up and be like, "Hey, I freaked out. I was expecting more coming into this week," or whatever the situation is for him, and talk about how maybe, and maybe it'll shine a light on anxiety or whatever disorder he might have, or just something like that. Because it just didn't, like, when I heard it, I was like, Romeo Dobbs was like, went home and didn't come back. Like, that's just, it was just so weird. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, those are just things I heard this week that were very interesting and maybe shine a light on something that would normally, most fans maybe didn't hear about, like his history of speaking out about Aaron Rodgers being a jerk, his history of freaking out at the combine and disappearing and locking himself in his room for a couple of days. Maybe he's a guy who's, this is something that he would do because he just shuts down, like me as an introvert, you wouldn't think I was the way I talk so much, but I am. And if I'm ever in a place with a bunch of people, sometimes I just have to get out and free. Like I have to get away for a while, and I can't handle it because it just messes me up. And maybe something happened. He was expecting something, and then it ended up being something totally different. We all know that can happen to you, Jace, right? That happened to me 2 weeks ago. And you kind of just are like, okay, I got to just sit by myself for a while and just figure this out because I was not expecting this, and I got to calm myself down a little bit. So hopefully he's able to work through it. Hopefully they have support for him. And hopefully he's able to talk in front of the media tomorrow and really articulate what exactly happened. But that's just my opinion on the whole thing.
Yeah, I hope so too. Especially if he had anxiety or there's other stuff going on there. I mean, that stuff can be debilitating and it can cause you, especially for introverts, and think about the lifestyle he's living. He definitely seems like an introverted guy. So you put all that together, that can be challenging for your behavioral and mental health. And That's nothing to brush off. I mean, I didn't know any of that stuff. If that could be a factor, that definitely changes the way I think anyone should look at it. The thing I thought of initially was kind of what you were talking about. Partly was, I mean, he's in the third year, right? And
Yeah.
you look at his stats, and where are they going? If they're not going up,
They've gone down every year because
what
his
kind of?
rookie year
I
he
mean,
was like the
well,
savior.
last year he had the 8 touchdowns, right? Because he was Jordan Love's like red zone guy.
Right, but he didn't have as many catches or yards as he had the year before with Rodgers.
So the thing, yeah, but so then you're like, I mean, this is it for the guy, right? Like if he doesn't get big money on the second contract, by the time you get a third contract, he's too slow. I mean, this is it. Running backs and wide receivers primarily, unless you're like some freak wide receiver, you're probably not going to get a third contract that's big. So I don't know. And look, Jaden Reed's taken over. Jaden Reed's become like the guy, right, that Love wants to go to in a bunch of cases, even though he goes to Wicks way too much.
He does well. Wicks. The thing is, Wicks is still one of the top players at getting
he
open.
Gets open. I know.
So, like, if you're open, you got to throw the ball to the guy. Like, I don't think Romeo's as open as Wicks is.
No, but Romeo catches the ball pretty well.
Right.
Like
and
he's
that's
got
the thing.
Good hands.
And you even had him, like, after the game, you had him as one of your guys. You were like, I think he was your silent but deadly guy last week.
Because he just he caught crappy passes, and he makes Love look good, and Dontavian Wicks can't. And Jaden Reed like makes Love look good too, because he throws the ball and freaking bomb into like 3 triple coverage, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing?
And by the way, that last pass
to
Wicks at the end of the game this Sunday was so far underthrown, it was ridiculous. Wicks had his guy beat by 15 yards, and he had to slow down and wait for that damn thing.
Yeah.
Now, he still should have caught it. It hit him in the hands. He should have caught that ball.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he had that guy beat by so much. It was ridiculous. And he had to hold off and wait for that stupid ball to get there because Love freaking threw like dog piss.
All right, Judah Time brought this up a while ago about Romeo. He's like, if that's the case, trade Romeo to the Jets for Reddick. Watson will be cheaper contract versus Romeo. Pass rush problem solved. D-line gets better and unclog the wide receiver room. Thoughts? Reddick is an outside guy, right?
He's outside pass rusher.
We have a bunch of those guys, man.
And here's the other thing. He wants a new contract now. He doesn't want
he's not contract.
He's not going to play for a 1 year and then go hit the free agent market. That's the whole point why he's sitting out on the Jets right now.
Right. And that's all the Packers
not going to work. Yeah.
They don't have room to give him some big ass contract right now.
Well, they probably do, but
they're still hamstrung a little bit.
The problem is they already have too much. You know that the Green Bay Packers are the number 2 team in money on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL this year.
And look, it gets you
kind of ridiculous. But that's because they have so many young receivers and
I don't like giving up on. I don't like giving up on Romeo for one issue or one mistake. The guy has not caused problems before, and he's been a reliable player. I don't think you trade him or get rid of him. Other guys that we traded in the past, like Demarius Randall, like that guy was a problem for a while. Other people who were problems where they traded him because they were it's like those guys are problems for a while. So fine, but one issue, no, you got to give the guy a second and third chance. Hopefully, a second chance, he straightens it out. He's been a good, productive player, a solid receiver, and he catches Love's crappy balls, which not everybody can do. So we keep him on the team. Kelly Packer wrote, then said, I hope they get the situation situated here. Romeo is sure-handed, and we need a big third down conversion guy with strong hands. Yeah. He's been really reliable catching the ball. And Lee also said trading him's not worth it. He and Green Bay have to work and grow from this. He'd like to see him get a veteran mentor, Donald Driver type. Yeah, that would be cool if Double D came in and worked. We've talked about that with like recent former players that were like good guys and and also good players. It'd be nice to bring those guys in to kind of work with some of these position groups where, they need a little polishing, or like defensive backs need a lot of help. So, like we talked about, if we could get Tremont or Woodson to come in.
I never thought much about that. But like, I remember last year where they were like, we got to keep Mercedes Lewis because they need the veteran in the room. And I'm like, well, what's the coach for? Right. That's what I kept saying. But I'm going to tell you from listening to the online or the O-line committee guys, both of them talk a lot about veteran players that they had when they were young who helped them through stuff. and some of them weren't even like in their room. Like Boone talks about Justin Smith or something like that. He was a D tackle or whatever. I don't know what his name was with the 49ers, maybe something else. Mm-hmm. But this big D tackle guy who kept telling him, he followed him around and sat with him every day at lunch, and he helped him like learn stuff and not do stupid crap. And you know what I mean? And the one thing we could say about Romeo Doubs is when he showed up 2 years ago, who was there? Was there any veteran receiver there to help him through it? No. Was Randall Cobb still here? I don't think he was he? Maybe he was.
Maybe. That was the year Cobby was going to train him up, maybe?
Cobby's going to train him up. Yeah, you're right. So, no, that wasn't that year, was it? Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe it was. So, I guess maybe he had Randall Cobb to train him up that year. I don't know. But it's interesting because he's a young player who has not had a veteran in the room with him, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the veteran in the room now.
Right.
Which... it's going to be interesting to see what the guys on the team say about it. Hopefully they'll, it sounds like they're all shocked by it, right?
Yeah.
They're all like, what the heck? Romeo, like, this is the last guy I'd expect to, just disappear, and not show up. But when you think of it as, being a diva, he's the last guy to think of. But to think of it as maybe he had sort of like a issue, anxiety or so whatever, then maybe it's not an issue, or maybe it's not like it's not surprising is what I'm trying to say. So it's weird. Hopefully they figured it out today or yesterday, Monday, when they met with him, and he can stand up in front of the media and talk for himself and really get the point across. And hopefully the guys will take him back. But the other thing I will say this is, I mean, it's true. 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you can't keep all four of those receivers that are top good receivers. Like, you can't.
Yep.
And I think it's obvious. Jaden Reed, he's a keeper.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them, jury's still out yet. I don't know. Wick's dropping balls left and right. Christian Watson's hurt all the time, and he can't adjust to the ball when it's in the air, and he has zero agility. And Romeo doesn't have the speed or the ability to get open as well as Wicks does. So they might not sign any of them back. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just expect, like, you keep waiting for one of them to take over a game. And one more thing, in that playoff game last year against Dallas, when Doubs had the huge game, a lot of that was because guys were running the defense off of him, and he was the underneath guy who got the open spot. Like Watson, Bo Melton, those guys were all taking the top off the defense, and Doubs was the guy who got the benefit of that in that game.
Yep. Right.
It wasn't like he was running great routes and getting open. The Dallas defense was stupid, and they went with, it wasn't stupid, but I mean, they went with the speed, and they didn't worry about covering him so much.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not, he had a huge game there, and a lot of people talked about him in the offseason, like he's like the man, right? Like, this is his time to step up and be the man. But a lot of other people also said they think Wicks is the best receiver in the room. Well, Wicks is the guy who dropped balls all over the place. And it turns out it's actually Jaden Reed who's the best in the room. So you never really know about any of these guys. And when you have a guy like Bo on your team yet too, right? And Malik Heath he was blocking his ass off his last game. He was kicking ass.
Let me ask you a question. Made some good catches too.
Yeah. Hey, I looked at the PFF grades. The two top run blocking Packers on offense were Bo Melton and Malik Heath.
I believe it.
And the third one was Dontavian Wicks. Or maybe it was Wicks and Heath, and then Bo Melton was third or fourth after Tucker Kraft. I remember one of those. No, Tucker Kraft still had a 47 run blocking grade. They give him a crappy run blocking grade every time. I don't know why.
That's weird.
He also only had like a 60-something grade or 72 grade because even though he had 100-some yards and 2 touchdowns, PFF just hates Tucker Kraft. I don't get it. And they love Xavier McKinney. Oh, my God, do they think he's the greatest thing ever. And llisten, I'll say this.
He made a good play.
I'm giving him crap. Yeah, I was giving him crap last week, but I mean, you get 5 picks in 5 games. There's got to be, you're doing something right.
He's aware, at least.
Yeah.
He finds the ball.
So that's one thing I'll say about that guy. But yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to bring up the Doubs thing because hopefully it'll be resolved tomorrow. So this is a good day to speculate and be like, ooh, what could happen? And who knows? And hopefully things are doing better, but who knows?
Yeah, I hope so. Last thing I want to throw at you before we go is because people bringing this stuff up with as bad, because we saw a lot of the stuff that happened, and we might talk a little bit more of it later in the week. But we know Tucker Kraft was awesome. We know how good some of the other guys look. Jaden Reed was a monster. All this good stuff. But you also saw how bad Eric Stokes was pretty much throughout the game.
Whew. Yeah.
Whenever anybody changed direction on him, I mean, he's like 5 yards behind the guy.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So, but Keyshawn, I thought, held his own. They liked having Bullard in the slot.
Well, Evan Williams played more slot.
Evan Williams played great.
He played every defensive snap. He played more snaps than Bullard played in this last game.
Evan Williams played great. So when Jair comes back,
Stokes is your fourth quarter. Yeah, he's got to be on the bench.
Yeah. And you keep Keyshawn outside. Let him stay out there. He's doing all right.
The other thing real quick too, Rashawn Gary. In 5 games, he's had 3 out of the 5 games where he's had 0 pressures.
Wow.
0 pressures.
But LaFluer brought up the chipping this week to give some excuses, remember?
Was that what it was?
Yeah, you guys are always going to get chipped. They're doing a lot of chipping on those guys. I don't see that much chipping, to be honest with you. I see a lot of one-on-one going against tackle, and they just don't get it done.
I see a guy making a hell of a lot of money not doing anything is what I see. Him and Kenny Clark are stealing money.
And Igbari still finds a way to do something.
Smith. Yeah, I know. Well, he's the only him and Carl Brooks and Devontae Wyatt, but he was hurt. So
yeah.
But those are only three guys who can actually get pressure one-on-one. They can beat a one-on-one block. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, Kenny Clark gets double teamed, Rashawn Gary gets chipped." It's like, not on every play. There's a bunch of plays where they're single covered, single blocked, and they still can't do anything.
You saw the one play that Kenny Clark got pressure? I was like, damn, he got in there fast. Yeah, nobody blocked.
Nobody blocked it. Yeah. He still didn't do anything.
He didn't get there in time.
No.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, I mean,
he ain't gonna get any pressure on Kyler Murray this week. Kenny Clark.
LaFleur's actually I thought Colby Wooden, I thought he did pretty good too. I thought he did pretty well at moving laterally, getting in on some plays. I have to go back and watch a couple more things, but overall I thought he had a pretty good game too. So, but LaFleur's, getting questioned about the lack of pass rush. I will. Have you noticed this about the Green Bay media? They're asking a lot more specific and poignant questions of Matt LaFleur, and I don't think he likes it. He's used to just giving softballs and not having to say much.
Yeah, well, Bill Huber has been asking more questions he's actually
Bill
kind of making sense a couple times. Usually not, but still a couple times. And Wildy's been kind of throwing up softballs. He's trying to get answers he wants, but he's like, he says it so it sounds like he's being nice and complimenting him, but really he's actually not. But LaFleur hasn't figured it out yet, so he's still kind of nice to him lately. So that's interesting. I don't know if they had the one I watched the press conference on Monday, and he was like, Wildy asked him a whole bunch of questions, and LaFleur seemed to be nice to him, and I was like, Wildy's trying to trick you, LaFleur. Can't you figure that out?
He might not be that smart, but he is certainly happier than Robert Saleh was for the last.
Poor Robert Saleh.
That's okay. Come join our staff.
His best man did him dirty. He's not coming here. I'm hoping he called LaFleur right away and was like, dude, you freaking bastard. And LaFleur's just laughing at him. We tricked you. We tricked you into taking the diva, baby.
Vikings are 5-0, and everyone is finally understanding the importance of Aaron Jones once again. Because once he went out in this last game, they look terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Aaron Jones is the best.
Aaron Jones should be league MVP, I guess.
He should be.
Because every time he's in there, your team's great. When he's gone, they don't look so good. That's the definition of MVP, right? I don't know. Am I dumb?
No. Well, you are, but you're also correct about the definition of MVP.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys have a good rest of your week. Or Robert Saleh, you have a good rest of your week.
Pour it out for Robert Saleh.
It sucks you got fired, but at least
you got fired.
You still get your money.
You get your money. You don't have to deal with Rodgers.
Nope. So those are some pluses right there. Those are a couple pluses.
Either way, he was getting fired eventually. So it's almost better now because he can just hang out.
And he can sit back and watch what happens with the Jets and doesn't have to get stressed about it or worry about it.
Yeah.
All right, you guys be good. We'll catch you later on more outright opinions, Packer related. Tell me why,